That's how we own it. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Mysonne.
And I'm Tamika D. Mallory, and this is Street Politicians,
the place where the streets and politics meet.
I am so excited.
So excited.
That today is our first day, our launch for Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network.
Shout out to Charlamagne the God. What's going on, boy?
Shout out to
our boss.
Brother,
That's
the
our
blackity
boss.
black. Yeah, he's our boss.
He's actually our boss.
Yeah, kind of.
You know what I'm saying? But that's our
partners.
Boy. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a partnership.
But he's kind of
our boss. We respect it. Listen to me. I don't mind working for another black man.
I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because a black man gonna work for me eventually.
Because all kin folks ain't just skin. All skin folks ain't your kin folks.
That's
so,
right.
You know, that's another
thing.
So
listen, we're celebrating. It's our first episode. We got our champagne. We ain't promoting who it is because they ain't give us no check yet. But we gonna pop this. Look, we're gonna
be careful with people's eyes and all of that.
Look, we're gonna get this together.
You're a scrub. You can't even get it out.
Whoa! And look, we don't got no champagne glasses. We from the hood.
We from the
hood.
That's
we got little red cups that you probably these ain't even the real red cups. These is the coffee cups.
Yeah,
but we good with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They drink.
That's all it is. It's about a drink, man. We're going to toast for our first episode. On the Black Effect Network. iHeartRadio. Charlamagne the God, thank you for having us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We plan to be in the Hall of Fame soon. So we're going to toast to that. Let's toast to Hall of Fame vibes. Hall of Fame vibes. Yeah. Street Politicians. Let's go. Cheers.
And it's, you have to think about, or it has been your journey that I've kind of just been going along with.
Because
you knew that podcasts were going to be really, really important to the culture. And you said, we need to start something. We came up with the name Street Politicians. I think I came up with this name. You came up with Until Freedom.
No, I came up with Street Politicians also.
No, you didn't.
Definitely came up with Street Politicians.
You definitely did.
Listen,
I think Jamila came up with Street Politicians.
She came up with the logo we have, but the name was me.
Davis.
No way. I came up with Street Politicians.
Anyway,
definitely.
I know I came up with it, but he says he came up with it. I came up with it.
Definitely.
But anyway, Street Politicians is a baby of Mysonne's, where a few years back you were like, "Yo, podcasts are gonna be the thing. It's gonna be how we get information to our communities. It's a trend. It's something that we need to jump on." And I don't really like cameras, as you know. It's not my thing. People see me on cameras all the time and probably think I'm super duper comfortable, but I'm not. I pretty much like to just be easy and not have all of the attention. But I didn't really necessarily see it at the time. But then as time has gone on and I listen to other really important podcasts, and it actually helps to inform a lot of our strategy and thought processes about what's going on in the movement. I was like, you know what, you're right. And there were a lot of people who believed in us that we need to give a lot of credit to. One is our producer, the executive producer.
Put the executive.
Kathleen Trigg. If you don't know her, you need to look her up.
Yes.
She is the founder of Catscape Productions, also iWomanTV. She works with an incredible team that is led by the creative director, Janice Rodriguez.
She's a legend.
They are legendary status. And they really did believe in Street Politicians and helped us to get started. That's when we took that
from day one. Day one, they believed in us.
And we used to just argue all the time because we could get into a good argument.
Oh, definitely get it because we don't agree.
Right. In fact, our first promo
was I don't agree.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree. We said it so many times that they were able to capture it and put it in a promo.
That is a fact.
But I think we found common ground.
We're getting better. We're finding common ground, and we're growing in our, into our voices, into our platform. So, once again, let's toast again. All
right. Street Politicians. Episode 1.
So it's so much going on in the world. Like, what are we talking about today? What's our topics today?
There's a lot to talk about, but the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the hood remix situation you got going on here with the red cups. It was cute.
This is
Nah, it was cute, but it can't stay. Sorry. Can you take it?
Okay, well, I'm going to keep my cup.
Well, I'm going to keep mine, too, because we don't let people walk around with our drinks.
Okay, I'll put it to the side.
Right.
I was having a good time. I'm ratchet like
nobody said you can't just continue to have a good time, but we not. First of all, you said we
it's a celebration though. Son.
It is a celebration, but you know it'll be done in a different way at a different time.
Okay.
But then, and we have to have Charlemagne to come up here and celebrate.
Definitely, he got to celebrate with us. We got to interview him.
Yeah,
we got to pick his mind.
Find out about
the mind of a genius. What was his vision with the
behind the Black Effect
Network? You know what I'm saying?
Like
we've been talking so much about blackity black, and I think this year with the whole Black Lives Matter, everyone is interested in what's going on in Black Thoughts, and I think it was so genius of him to just capture this moment and create a network that really speaks our voice and talks about our culture and has different representation of us in all facets and all areas.
It does. So you have like Teslin, black with what is it, with no chaser, or straight no chaser, straight no chaser, and that's exactly who she is.
Oh, ain't no question about that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so many other voices on the network that's given, like you said, different perspectives to what it means to be blackity black.
In all its splendor.
In all its splendor. Aspects, but also everyone dealing with serious issues in their own way. Even the comedic side of the network where, you're going to hear different people. I mean, what's her name? Jess Hilarious. She's hilarious, but she does talk about important issues. And so I think it's just a place that Black folks are going to finally find our voices again, because we've lost so much of Black media. We've lost so many opportunities to tell our own narratives, to share our own stories. And I think that the Black Effect Network gives us that ability again. I am super, super humble and honored to be a part of it. So, ding, ling, ling, ling. Now, you said what's going on.
So what's going on in the world? There's a lot going on. We had an election.
We just
came out of and we got a whole new thing right now. We hope. Listen,
we hope
we are hopeful. We believe that different means something that's going to push us forward. That's our goal.
Well, our producer Catrig, who used to work with Joe Biden, believes that something different is going to happen. So you believe that, Kat?
Amen.
Amen. She said amen. Amen.
That was a Black woman's amen. Amen. It's not like amen. It's amen.
Amen.
So, I hope it's a new day. I think it's a new day in terms of getting rid of Donald Trump, for sure. Because that just wasn't going to work. There's no way we were going to give him 4 more years.
The 4 years we had was so atrocious to me.
Yeah.
I'm just I think just when you look at this election for me, right, I think I was so just disappointed in the amount of people who voted for him. To notice that after the 4 years that he did for this country and the poor fashion in which he represented, I just think for me, there has to be some level of presidentialness, I would say. You know what I'm saying? Some decorum.
It has to be.
Some class, some tact. And he lacked all of those things on so many different levels.
He did.
And it's just it wasn't the representation that he shouldn't even be the president of a junior high school class, let alone the free world.
Yeah, he just wasn't. He brought the worst out of us as a nation.
He did.
I think the worst of us was on display, and he gave people who sort of live in that dark space an opportunity to come forward. It's not that racism didn't exist. Mm-hmm. We know racism existed. It always will. But what he did was embolden people and gave them the opportunity to come out and say, hey, I'm here. Whereas before we had them where they had to be closeted racists. Now, I get that there are some who say, well, we would prefer to know who an individual is. We want to be able to see them and say, okay, I have identified that you're my enemy. And that makes sense, except that these individuals are actually killing people. They're actually in charge of, human resources departments. They might be your dentist. They might be your child's teacher. And so they need to have to be closeted with their behavior. We should not allow it to just be full-fledged, just everybody go out and be as racist as we want to be.
Yeah, no. Racism should never feel comfortable.
No.
And I think for me, which I continuously say, is that it was more than racism for me. It was white supremacy. It was implementation and emboldeness and and just pretty much normalizing white supremacy. It wasn't just because racism exists. Like I don't believe that most people that come from different backgrounds, there is either bias, and we call it bias in our communities because we don't have the power to impose racism to affect your bottom line. Mm-hmm. So we know that because we've heard different things, we've had different experiences. I don't believe that 9 out of 10 70-year-old white men don't have a level of racism. Even with Joe Biden, I believe there's racism. If you heard things he said, there's ignorance and racism that just comes from the upbringing that you have. You know, but there's also a willingness to try to identify and understand why it's racist, to listen and sit down with other people from different ethnicities and say, okay, I understand why. I didn't realize what I was saying was racist. I just was taught or something. But Donald Trump was living in that. He was doubling and tripling down on that. He was making people who normally didn't even feel comfortable saying, you know what, I'm going to talk as crazy as to you as possible. Karens were at an all-time high. Kens were at an all-time high. It just was at a rate that it was just too much. And it was time
that, they had their 4 years. If you are one of those people that's like, I need to learn who the racists are around me. I want everybody to be exposed. They're exposed.
They definitely have.
You learned. Now you know. You've been able to identify them. It's time for us to get in a place where we could go back to fighting without having to also fight fascism and dictatorship, because that's the thing that's actually the larger framework. We've always been fighting the oppression of black and brown people. We've always been fighting institutions that have, that white supremacy is ingrained in the way in which they operate. That's something we've always been dealing with, and it's going to take us a while. Like, it's now 400 plus years. Some people say 402 years or 401. Yeah, 401 years. And then there are other people that count other parts of our history when we were even captured in Africa, and then the journey towards enslavement. And so they say that's about 465 years. So it depends on where you are in terms of your understanding as a historian. But the bottom line is that for more than 400 years, we've been dealing with these oppressive systems. And there's no one president, one organization, one movement, one era that will change that and turn back the entire clock and just spontaneously we live in this fair and equitable world. We know that's not really the case. We're going to have to fight. But we were fighting not just the institutional issues, but we were also fighting a fascist, someone who wanted to be a dictator and was really moving towards creating a government that would allow him to be a dictator by doing things like, well, first of all, controlling the Senate, right? Which we know every time something happened that we wanted our government, the local officials who are in the federal government, to fight against or to stand against, they're unable to win because we're dealing with a Senate that backs up the white supremacy that's happening within our government. Then beyond that, they were putting judges, over 300 judges in place in the federal courts across this country that are conservative judges who, Attorney Lee Merritt, who we have to have on one day as a guest. Yeah. I called him just to check on him a few days ago. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And he answered the phone so frustrated, like, Tamika, you don't know what's going on in these courts with these conservative judges. Y'all don't get to see that because you're not in the courts. You're not fighting these cases. But as attorneys, we're up against a real serious problem in terms of going in these courts and seeing how the judges are ruling. So there's stuff that's going on that people who were like, oh, I'm with Trump. They don't
Biden ain't no different than Trump.
That's your guy.
Biden ain't no different than Trump.
That's what they were saying.
Man,
but those people who say that, they also don't understand
the
how dangerous this man was. And then we have to talk about the Supreme Court, which pisses me off. But the Democrat strategy was basically, well, we just hope Ruth Bader Ginsburg lives until Trump is out of office. And that is not a strategy.
It wasn't a successful strategy.
It was not, because she just and listen, shout out to
women.
She
held on though.
This lady,
she held on as long as she could.
Listen,
man. Days. She's held on. She gave days.
She gave them years of everything. She fell out in her office. She had cancer. She had all kinds of medical issues, and she kept bouncing back. She wouldn't even sometimes stay out for weeks, like after she was really ill. She kept coming back to work. And on her deathbed, when asked by her grandchildren, I believe, what her last wishes were, she said she'd like to see Donald Trump be removed from office before she passed away. Amen. And so that may not have happened exactly at the time that she passed away or when she passed, but certainly we were able to put the work in to give her the gift of life.
That's right.
In her passing.
Amen. And you know, when we look at the post-election and we just look at the tantrum that Donald Trump has had by losing, you know, now in all it's been, you know, official that he's lost in these states, and he's still unwilling to concede. That just so shows to the character or lack thereof.
Exactly.
You know, it's just like you lost,
bro.
You lost, bro.
You gotta do like Wale and them when they always tweet back at him. They be like, "Girl, if you don't sit down,
like it's just like it's over. Like Trump, you lost. You know, you went there, you lost, man. You gave a good fight. You actually gave a good fight.
He lost with the same electoral votes
that he won
by. It's the same exact thing.
You ain't want to go to the Supreme Court. You ain't want to talk about none of that. Yeah. Even with Russia involved. You know, you said that people was crazy. So it's like every time you look at what he does, it shows you more and more. You know, we're dealing with a global pandemic in which he refused to act on, that people are dying because of. We're dealing with, you know, health issues and financial issues in this country that he pretty much caused, you know, and to not be able to just concede as a man and say I lost.
As a man.
You know, and then they had this march. You know, they had this, the Million MAGA March.
The Million MAGA March.
That, you know, that.
Which people got hurt.
People definitely got hurt. I heard even people got stabbed.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and they were so against the marches that Black and brown folks were holding all summer. They were, and not just Black and brown folks, people, our allies, supporters, everyone who was down with the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, held marches where some of it did turn violent, which, by the way, I was watching Fox News the other day because, you know, I watch Fox News. It's a shameless thing, but I have to because we got to know what's going on. And I was watching the other day, and they were like, you know, talking about, well, they were saying basically, we can have marches and there will not be people there to destroy, people who are destructive, which we know that that's not true, but that's what they said. And I was like, yeah, you know why the destructive people are not there? Because they were already at our march, destroying, you know, the destroying things to try to take the storyline away from the Black Lives Matter issue and to turn it towards looting and violence. Like, we know what happens. We know that a lot of times the individuals who come out who are destructive during these marches are people who are, you know, some the super wokes. We got the super wokes.
Definitely got the super wokes.
Those are our people. I ain't gonna lie. They are our people. They super work. They so mad that they're more upset than the families of those people whose lives have actually been taken. Those are the super woke, so we have to work on them all the time. And a lot of times they're white people.
It's a lot of white people
that we have to talk to and bring them in.
White people,
but they are there for some of the right reasons. Then you have those COINTELPRO folks, and that's an important.
They are definitely present.
I mean, they're dangerous because they get people hurt, and again, their job is to try to shift the narrative. So you have all of that stuff going on, but nonetheless, there is a new administration that will be coming in January. I hope that Donald Trump doesn't concede because I want to see them.
You want to see somebody pull him out?
I do. I'm not gonna lie.
Yo, listen.
I want to see him dragged out.
I don't care how you get out. Walk, drag, push.
He gone.
He just gotta go.
You gotta go.
You gotta go, man. Pack your bags. Shout out to Michael Rappaport. Pack your bags. Pack your shit and get out of here. You're out of here.
Rappaport is hilarious.
He said you lost. Pack your shit. Get out of here. You
Man,
know? I love this. One of my favorite videos.
Now that brings me to my thought of the day. If you want to know what my thought of the day is,
I would love to hear.
My thought of the day will generally be very thoughtful and serious.
Okay.
But on today, I have a different type of thought of the day.
And what is that?
And that is, how long do you give Melania? Do you think she's going to do over 6 months or under 6 months before she files for divorce and runs for the hills?
I think she already did. I think they have like a lot of videos, memes, where they show U-Haul trucks already in front.
No, also they showed the double. The person, they found a person on a plane, and it's like literally confirmed. There was a person on the plane. It was supposed to be Melania with him. The woman standing there waving, and it wasn't her.
Wow. Poor Trump.
Oh, you feel sorry for him? Because I don't.
I mean, he got a wife. She just gonna up and leave. It's over, so she over.
But I mean, you know what? She's got to be able to go on with her life and to raise her child.
She could have left a little while ago.
Yeah, but you know what? You don't. And see, and that's here. Listen, show topics. Write it down. What happens when the wife of a successful person, or the wife of a president, or some leader, right, in whatever field, feels oppressed but can't leave because it's not the status quo? And there's some people who will say, man, she's just as bad as he is. We heard some of Melania's comments, the jacket that she wore, I think it says something like, I don't care, or who cares, or something like that. We heard her in the leaked tapes that her friend put out there, where she is speaking terribly about the children separated at the border. She clearly doesn't like Christmas. And now, we don't really celebrate Christmas, but you can't say you don't like Christmas, because, black folks don't like, if you don't like Christmas.
If you don't like Christmas, then you don't like Christ, because Christmas is Christ, the birth of Christ. So you can't, you can't not like Christmas.
Ignorant,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's our thing.
It's our
Christmas
thing. We got a
big
thing.
deal
Christmas is a thing
for a lot of people, although, again, I don't celebrate Christmas. Because I don't think that we should be spending our money with
I've pretty much given it up.
Yeah, it's just not. It's
so
not
I try
a good
to buy
idea.
my kids gifts before Christmas.
That's right. So I don't know. I just feel like where we are now, hopefully we're going to turn over a new leaf, but all of it is going to happen based upon how much work we put in. Like, we got to put in real work, because we have an opportunity in this moment to make a real change.
We have a real opportunity, man. And we've seen how united, and when we push on all cylinders, and have different levels, from celebrities, grassroots organizations, social media platforms, television platforms. And when we push one message, we've seen how we're able to push
unity
and shift.
You talking about unity? Is that what you're talking about?
That's what it's all about, man.
Know anything about
that's
unity?
all it's about, is unity. If we
not
do it together. No, not uniform. I don't want uniformity. I don't want nobody looking, sounding, doing everything I do. I want you to do what you do for the same cause that I do it, and we do it together. That's together. What unity
Different
is.
ways, but still. So speaking of that, the Georgia Senate, the Senate seats that are up for grabs in Georgia.
Yes.
Listen, here's the reality.
What's the reality?
Even if you have a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris presidency.
That's right.
They can't get shit done if they don't control Congress, right? The Congress. So, that's another thing. We have to have experts come on this show to break down to people what is the Congress versus Congress and the Senate, right? There is a difference, right?
That's right.
And the Congress is the full body of those who vote on our issues. You need to have both branches of government, the Senate and the Congress, to come together, right, and make decisions that will support the Democratic president or whomever it is, whatever. Even if in this case, President Trump had Republican control in the Senate.
That's right.
So there's a lot of things that the Democratic Congress did block. They did their best. They fought, or not. They didn't. I take that back.
Use the word block.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying they blocked.
Okay.
I'm saying I take back that they did their best, because there's a whole lot of shit that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. I said shit already.
Oh.
There's a whole lot of stuff that
because I say shit sometimes.
Yeah. That Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, as far as I'm concerned, could have done better. Like, you know, if somebody had me laughing the other day, Linda Sarsour says, when they were fighting to block Amy Barrett from becoming a Supreme Court justice, we were like, damn, they didn't even like pull an alarm in the building or like set a fire or do something. You can't really set a fire, but you know what I'm saying.
But yeah, cause some type of disruption.
Do something to delay it. But
we went to the Kavanaugh hearings that got arrested. We wanted people to know.
Trying to extend it. But you know, with the COVID situation and not being able to have people inside of buildings protesting and all of that, it definitely has created some real challenges. But nonetheless, to go back to the original point, right? The Democrats were unable to get the things done that we needed to be done. And it's the same thing when President Obama was in office and we lost the midterm elections and allowed the Republicans to take control. They now have power over a particular branch of government that is responsible for how decisions are made. So it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It matters also down the ballot who we have in control of every single branch of our government. So there are 2 seats up for grabs in Georgia, 2 Senate seats, which would basically take all of this power out of Mitch McConnell's hands. Mitch McConnell has the power of a king where he controls government and how things move. There are bills. The George Floyd bill is on his desk right now that includes things like Breonna Taylor's law, which would be a ban on no-knock warrants. Mm-hmm. All of these things are in that bill, and he's not even looking at it. It's just on his desk, right? Figuratively and literally. And so when you are able to take these 2 Senate seats in Georgia, it will put us in a position of power where we can now really demand that the Biden administration gets some stuff done because they don't have the excuse that the Republicans wouldn't help us do it. So there's a runoff, right? First of all, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, they were both in the election that just happened on November 3rd, but they did not reach the threshold in terms of the percentage of votes that you need to be able to capture in order to claim victory. Okay. And so they have to go to a runoff with, it's like sports, right? You know about...
It's a sudden death, it's like overtime.
It's like overtime. They got to go, well, not really. It would be more like the playoffs when it comes down to the final 2. Because I think Raphael Warnock was like number 8 or 9 on the ballot, especially because his last name is W. And so because of the percentage that he came in, he came to a certain level, there's another candidate who also came to that level, and the 2 of them are going to have to battle it out. So isn't that like the playoffs? Because I don't know nothing about sports.
I mean, it's a playoff. I guess it's a playoff competition because, you got 2 different records, and one of them is like 7 to 8 spot, and y'all got to battle to continue to see them. Exactly. So I guess, but the only difference is in the playoffs, after you win, you got to battle somebody else. So it's a little different. I think it's the final.
Well, you do because
playoff finals.
Obviously the playoffs is longer, but he won out of many that he was up against.
Okay, so so it's like the final, the playoffs for the
finals.
Yeah, it's the finals.
I told you got to teach me, but we're gonna be talking.
It's the finals. It's the finals. It makes sense.
All right, so let me just read the information for the Georgia Senate runoff date so that people understand that even if you're not registered to vote, you still have time.
That's right.
So you can, first of all, begin requesting your absentee ballot right now.
Right now.
Right now. You can call or you go online. You can go to vote.wokevote.us. That's vote.wokevote.us or iwillvote.com and get information on how you can request an absentee ballot. So that's for Big Mom and them who are like, I can't go to the polls. I'm immunocompromised with the COVID crisis. We don't want to put people in harm's way. But our suggestion
gotta let them know the work ain't done. We need this.
Our suggestion to most folks is go to the polls if you can. Mm-hmm. Put your hazmat suit on, put your gloves on, do your thing, whatever you got to do.
But like we seen the last election, though, they ain't make it to the poll. But them absentee ballots.
The absentee ballots matter.
They came like the Black Panther.
But if you can go to the polls, you should. If you can't, Get your absentee ballot now. December 7th is the last day to register to vote. That is the deadline for voter registration.
And where does it start?
It already started.
Okay,
voter registration happens every day. Okay. Even on December 8th, you can still register to vote. You just won't be able to vote in the election. Okay. Exactly. December 14th begins early voting for most counties in Georgia. Now, there's going to be some issues there, but December 14th is a good date to hold. And then January 5th is the last day of election day.
It's the election day.
That's the election day.
Okay, that's the election day. January 5th. December 14th is the last day of early.
December 14th is the first day of early voting.
Mm-hmm. I thought you said wait.
Early voting begins.
Okay, so early registration is every day up until
December 7th.
December 7th.
Would you like to see this so you can really
so
your visual
deadline for voter registration. So from now until December 7th, you have to be registered to vote, and then the early voting begins on December 14th.
That's right.
And the last date would be January 5th, which is election day. So every day up until January 5th, you can vote.
Well,
do early voting.
Now, see, we're going to need you to go back over that again, because that's what street politicians is all about.
You said December 14th is the first day of early voting.
Right.
So every day from December 14th until January 5th, you can early vote.
So yes, technically. But the only little caveat to that I'm not sure of, but I know from New York City, some days it's not open. Like on a Sunday, it might not be open.
Okay.
But basically,
all the business days,
most days, and Saturdays, of course, it is open to early vote. And so people should go to iwillvote.com or vote.wokevote.us, vote.wokevote.us, and you can get all the information that you need about where to go, how to register, what to do, everything you need to know.
Okay, sounds like a plan. I got it now.
Georgia. So there's a lot happening. We've got guests today.
We've got excellent guests that I can't wait to hear from, man.
Congresswoman Yvette Clark, who is our friend.
Who has found the fountain of youth, ladies.
She's found the fountain of youth.
She has
found it.
That. For real, man. Like, that's one thing I just love about black people. When they say black don't crack, and you look at Congresswoman Yvette Clark, and you see her skin, it's flawless.
She's got amazing skin.
It's flawless, man. So, and what she does for our communities and how she's always rep our communities and has always been a voice, for our communities and someone that we look up to, that we can call and get educated on certain issues. It's just unmatched, man.
She's amazing.
I am happy to have her on the show.
And then we have Tawana Nobles. Who's a
young
new
queen.
A new friend. She is the president of the Tacoma, Washington Urban League and is the newly elected state senator there in Tacoma. And so we're going to be talking to her.
Let's give it up for black women.
See, it's a good thing.
Listen, we have to celebrate it when it's supposed to be celebrated.
That's right. Which is every day, every minute.
Okay.
But that's a whole different thing.
And
then there's Gary Chambers. One of the things that we're doing on Street Politicians is our political activist or our just activist organizer moment when we highlight activists in different cities.
Who
across
are doing
the
work that we know is doing the work.
People we know are really doing the work, because there's some activists.
There's activists that we don't know. We have no idea what they come
do, and
from.
no one in their community knows.
Nobody's seen them before. They've just been called activists.
But
you didn't hear from me,
right? But I thought that it was really important, and you were like, we went through many different iterations of what we thought it should be. It was like, should we highlight cases and then bring the activist that's working on the case? But one of the things that I think we figured out is like, we don't know what they're working on because we don't know their local community issues. So we just need to highlight the individuals who are doing the work so that they can get the donations that they need.
The investments. I hate the word donations.
Yeah.
Oh, please invest. Investments. In these people.
We like investments.
We love investments.
So that they can get the type of attention, support, and respect that they deserve. And so I love the activist moment or the organizer moment. Depends on where you are in life and what you want to call yourself, or what type of work you do. And we should have a show on what's the difference between an activist and an organizer.
Definitely there's an extreme difference, because what you do is organize, right. And I'm more of an activist.
But I'm an activist and an organizer.
No, but yeah, I'm saying, but when I watch what you and Linda do, the way that you organize, the way that you strategize and say, okay, boom, 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 we're going to do this. We need to do this, and this is how we got to go, and we need to call these people, and we need to set it up here. That's more than just being somebody that says, I'm mad, I want to go out, and I'm willing to put my body on the line, and I have a voice. But the way that is the strategy part of the organizer.
It's the strategy
for you.
Sound like our friend Tiffy Pop that works with us. It's the strategy for me. So, street politicians.
Street politicians.
We in the building.
Let's go. Episode 1. Woo! That's how we own it. So I don't think we can discuss it enough about how women have pretty much taken over politics. To me, when you look at it, especially in this day, and I attribute that to the work that you've done at the Women's March.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't really want to give the credit for, but it was very monumental. And to see how many women have been elected lately, and basically seeing how women have pretty much, especially black women, have put these elections on their back. They've been carrying it.
Really?
We talk about Yvette Clarke.
Yeah.
And you see that aspect of it. And then you continue to see in the Senate and just all around, black women have been getting voted into different offices. Mm-hmm. We have our first female vice president elect who is a black woman. So
is she black? Because that's a whole different conversation for a different day. That people are actually trying to debate whether or not Kamala Harris is a black woman. Yeah. If she's not black, I don't know what a black woman looks like. And I happen to be a black woman. And she looks really, really, really close to the black women that I know. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Well, listen, I'm no longer even shocked at, we had Obama. He wasn't black.
Right, he
wasn't even American. He wasn't nothing. Every time we get something, it ain't what we thought it was.
That's right.
So I've become accustomed to the conspiracy theories and always want to take away, well, she not really black because she come from the Jamaican and the West Indies, then the Indian, and that ain't all the way black. It ain't the descendant of slaves, and this is always something, man. I want to celebrate and congratulate Kamala Harris on her victory, being the first woman, and I say black woman, to be a vice president.
That's right. That's a big, I saw a meme somewhere that said, that if it says put your shoes on because there's glass all over the floor, and that means that the ceiling has been broken. She got this close. Now, whether or not she can actually be elected as president is going to be based upon what work she does, because we already know that Joe Biden, they had to pull Joe Biden across the finish line, and he was brushed up and dusted together every day.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I don't know who need to hear this, but most of the people I know voted for Kamala Harris. That's just a fact, because I ain't gonna lie, I didn't vote for Joe Biden.
But can you imagine? No,
but I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I voted for Kamala.
I'm not gonna say I have disrespect for the president-elect of the United States, but I will say that I have some fundamental issues with Joe Biden still right now. We voted against Donald Trump in most cases. And when I started trying to figure out what was the motivating factor, Kamala Harris, who has her own issues and her own reckoning that she has to do with the black community, she was part of my decision. I saw that Charlemagne posted on his page, congratulations to Vice President-elect Kamala Harris
and Joe Biden.
A little bit of Joe Biden.
But that's why most people in the black community felt.
Fact.
And they still got, like you said, they still have the issues with her. But they said, look, I'd rather just make sure that this black woman gets in the office.
Yeah.
Because that's something we can celebrate, and we believe that whatever issues we had, that she's gonna do the necessary work,
or
we gonna
push
her.
We
gonna fight.
We're
gonna do it, and we feel like we have an opportunity. We feel like she's open to trying to make the reckoning and make the atonement for whatever she's doing.
I mean, I think I've heard from her a number of statements. And also the ways in which she's able to speak to the intricacies of our issues and our movement, it makes me think that she understands what this moment calls for. The other thing, and we'll have to talk about this at another time, but Kamala Harris came up in a different moment within our society. Even when you think about Joe Biden,
it was a different moment,
and the crime bill and all those things which were wrong, and they definitely should not be pushed on the back burner. But it was a different time. Kamala Harris, as someone who was trying to rise through the ranks of a white male-dominated system, she operated in a way that, again, should be challenged. But people have to understand that the world has changed. We have forced a new light and a new movement in our society that you can't go back to business as usual in that way if you want to be elected to office, if you want to be considered by us to be an ally. So I think it's just so much more to be discussed as it relates to Senator Harris, now Vice President-elect Harris, and what the administration is going to do. But I do want to acknowledge and appreciate you stating that the Women's March has so much to do with where we see ourselves now in terms of women in general really taking over across this country. I think that women, and Coretta Scott King once said that if this nation is going to be better, women must become the soul of the nation. And I don't think that means that men shouldn't be at the table, because I think we can't do anything without men and women and the beloved community coming together. But there's been too many closed doors where three men sat in a room and made decisions on behalf of the entire community. And so I am so glad that we're joined by a woman who just won an election, a state Senate seat in a place that it's like, are there black people in Tacoma, Washington? Tawana Nobles, who is also the president of the Tacoma Urban League. And let me just say, as you come, and talk with us today, Tawana, we have had the pleasure of meeting a number of badass sisters who are presidents of Urban League chapters across this country. One being Sadiqa Reynolds, who is the president of the Louisville, Kentucky chapter. She is incredible, our dear sister who is a fighter. Then you have Arva Rice, our sister from New York, who's the president of the New York Urban League. I mean, you all are some bad sisters. And the fact that you can go from being president of the Urban League to now becoming a state senator is a testament to what black women and black people are doing around the country. So congratulations and welcome to Street Politicians.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. And I do want to thank you all for all of your time and sacrifice and just leading the fight for justice in our communities across the nation. So thanks for having me.
Tell us what was the campaign platform that we can now hold you to? What were some of the things that you promised you would work on that got you elected?
Definitely, because I currently also serve as a school board director here in University Place, continuing to prioritize education. I'm a mom and a wife. I have 4 kids, 3 of them who are remote learning. And so I understand the challenges of our families who are crisis schooling, who don't have the resources they need, from broadband to technology. And so hold me accountable for making sure that I'm working as hard as I can to provide an equitable education. And I hope to champion bills that will allow broadband to be a public utility. So it's not a matter of luxury, but a matter of necessity, since we need broadband and access to the internet to live, to learn, and to work. And also making sure that we're helping our small businesses and community members to get through this pandemic, getting people back to work. We start a lockdown today through December 14th in Washington State because of the rise in COVID cases. So we have to help our businesses that are closing their doors, laying off workers. We have to help the Black community who we know will struggle more and be impacted disproportionately to get through this pandemic. So we'll work with our partners and community members to be successful in that area, but also to be just a champion for our working families. And that is around healthcare, housing, education, employment. We need to have a voice for our working families and recognizing it's hard for all of us out here. And we need people like me who know what it's like to struggle, know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, to be a part of these key decisions that are being made in our state.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Once again, I want to congratulate you. And I just want to say, just understanding the reality we're in, we just want to let you know that we know that you're a beautiful Black woman, smart, intelligent, but we're going to push you. We're going to fight you just like we do everybody else, because that's what we do. You know, we're going to make sure we're going to hold you accountable. But understanding that, do you see a real end to this pandemic? Like, I've had conversations with people, and every time we look, it seems like it's growing. When we get back to a level of normalcy, like, is remote learning going to be the new thing? Like, I have 2 children that I'm teaching from remote learning. I have a 6 and a 9-year-old, and it's very difficult. Like, I don't have the skill set to be a teacher. Like, I'm sitting there and they're on this computer, and the next thing you know, they got a Roblox on one show, and then YouTube is on, and then I hear the teacher like pay attention, and one is on one side of the room and other. It's a very difficult. We're dealing with so many difficult times. The trauma that these kids that we are dealing with, you know, like you said, small businesses, people not at work. It's so much going on. Like, what do you give some advice? Like, you know, you ran on this campaign of doing things during the pandemic, like helping small businesses and schooling. Could you like give some advice to me as a parent trying to just navigate through this situation?
Yeah, my best advice is we are going to have to hang in here, and we're going to have to cling to each other and to solutions as best as possible. Are we going to go back to normal? I don't think so. School and learning is going to look different. Our community is going to look different. Many businesses are not going to survive this next wave of a shutdown. You know, maybe they got PPP or some other type of small business funding, but they will not survive after this next shutdown when they have to close their doors. The trauma we are experiencing right now and the greater need for access to mental health resources changes everything for everyone. Even when I think of my kids and the skills that they are having to learn, college level skills to independently teach themselves more than ever before, be responsible for homework and studying, it will make them better human beings, but it's a traumatic transition because we weren't prepared for it. I'm not sure how to transition them and help them to build those muscles, but we'll do it, and we'll keep being resilient, and we'll keep taking a step back. My number one goal for my family, and I advise this for everyone, is to keep our families whole, to keep our communities whole. So if that means we're not getting to homework today, we're not going to get to homework today, because I want to keep my family intact. I want to keep my family healthy. And now that we're locked back down in our homes and not able to, you know, to move through the phases like we were, this is the number one thing that I want to make sure sustains after this, my family and then my community. So some things we're going to have to let go, but I think everything moving forward will be different.
I want to say one thing real quick. I see your son in the background. I'm assuming that's your son, and he's back there doing his homeschool, and he's paying attention. Right. And it just shows where we are right now. Right. You are a state senator, and you're on here doing a conversation and doing an interview, and you still have to be a mother at the same exact time, homeschooling your child. Like, you're right. Things are going to change, and I think we're going to learn different skills, you know, but it's going to be difficult. It's a difficult transition, man. I just want to say thank you for the work. And like, once again, we're going to hold you accountable to make sure that you do what you said you was going to do.
The transition may be difficult, but I think there is something to be said about parents learning more about what their children are learning, being able to hear what teachers are saying, and to really be able to see some of their children that don't listen in action so they can help the teacher, because the teacher's been dealing with the child that won't stay still, and now you get an opportunity to see it, and you actually have to deal with it, because sometimes we don't treat teachers nicely. I'm grateful again for you coming on and talking with us today. I know that your journey is just beginning, and we have to give the biggest shout out to the national president of the Urban League, Mark Moriel, who I know is supportive of you and all the women who are leading within Urban League. But you're starting out on your journey as a state senator. You look confident. You look like you're ready for the job. Yes, we're going to push you, but we also want you to use this as a platform to come back and let us know what's going on, and also to tell us how we can support you. You should let us know that right now what we can do to support you. And we're going to have you back. So as your journey is developing and you're beginning to learn more about the position, we can hear and learn with you, because not enough of our people are educated on the process. They don't understand what's happening inside the walls of the State House, and that information needs to be translated to the ground.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think the number one thing that I ask folks to help me with is to stay engaged. And you said this at our gala, that we can't just be presidential election organizers, right?
That's right.
So I'm telling folks, thank you for getting me elected. That was just part of this journey. And we have to keep organizing on the ground. And we have to keep, now that we get to testify in front of our state legislature virtually, that should provide a lot more access. But one of my goals is to provide access to this position, to our state legislature, to our community. So it doesn't seem like that's something that happens in Olympia, in our state capital, but it's something that happens in our community. And I want to really engage people to, take stock, to use their voice, and to be active. But I know part of my job is to be that educator, to expose community, to invite them in, to go out and find folks, and not rely on just lobbyists and people who know how to navigate the system and the process.
That's right.
But to bring in community who has no clue and doesn't know they can just call their state senator. So I'm excited for this journey, excited to stay in touch with you all as I learn and grow, because I'm at step one of like, wait, how does a bill become a law again?
Right. Yeah. Listen, we need you to learn this stuff real quick. It's not a lot of time. Thank you so much, Tawana. We appreciate you. Tawana Nobles, who is the newly elected state senator in Tacoma, Washington. See you soon.
We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Peace.
And tell your son we say hi. We see him over there working hard.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, the election.
It's been a rough road.
Oh, man, it's been rough. But, it took a joint effort by so many different organizations, so many different grassroots, so many just individuals who were really invested in seeing this country go in a different direction. And ultimately, we pulled it out.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was on a nonpartisan tour. I have to keep saying that. We did not tell anyone on the road who they should vote for.
We just knew we needed something different.
That's right. And we encouraged people to make sure that they showed up. And they showed out. I remember I was thinking that somewhere, I think we were in Michigan, where when we went to the polls on election day, no one was there. And I was really concerned. Scared to death. Like, I was
my God.
Why are people not voting? But they had already been to the polls. And we see that early voting and also mail-in ballots, that folks really did do what they were supposed to do. They did the damn thing. And they showed up and showed out. And, but we do have to talk about, which, we'll talk about it later in the show, that 70 plus million people voted for Donald Trump. So we still have an issue.
Yeah, we have a real issue in this country. It's so divided, and it's strange to me. I think every time I think about those numbers and I think about how he actually got more votes this time, and I think, how do we look at the condition of this country and be okay with voting for somebody like that? And you have to think about the mindset. You got to think about, just how the media plays a part.
Right.
We realize, just watching social media, I realize how lies have become facts.
Yeah.
How people have really, he says fake news, but he's the master of fake news. Absolutely. He just throws out the most, asinine statements, and then people say this is facts. He's pushed conspiracy theories, all the weirdest things in the world, and and people have gravitated to it. So
yeah, but you agree with his conspiracy theories around coronavirus sometimes. But anyway, we can talk about that at another time.
Yeah, that could definitely be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
listen, I'm just trying to say, man.
I've heard you say, well, kind of, on that.
Because at the end of the day, when you start doing math, because when you look at the news, right, there's a lot of stuff happening that you don't physically see in your own life. And that's just what for me. Not saying it's not happening. We understand Corona is very serious. And I'm not saying it's not. There are people who have died from. I know a person who died from coronavirus. But when I look at the numbers, and I compare certain things just don't add up. Not saying that it's not serious, but I just need a little more information.
Well, a person that knows a lot about the pandemic, coronavirus, and has been working with Black folks, particularly in Brooklyn, to help try to, get our people to be safe, to get our people to be more educated on the virus. And as she and I were having a conversation recently, and she was talking about the educational component of this, and that is something that you and I agree on, how bad it is for our children to have to live through this pandemic. The depression, the fact that parents and families don't always know exactly how to advocate, for their young people in a situation where there's, virtual learning. And so I am really grateful to have, first of all, my sister on the battlefield. This is a friend, a sister of ours. She's going to be a regular at Street Politicians because we need somebody that knows what's going on in the world. Right. She's a congressional member, Congresswoman Yvette Clark of the 9th District in Brooklyn.
Yes.
My sister Yvette, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Miss Queen.
Thank you so much, my sister Tamika Mallory and to Mysonne. Congratulations on this outstanding platform and program. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice, because when I see you, I know that in our Congress, there are stabilizing factors. There are people there who know what's needed on behalf of our communities and folks who are fighting for us. But it is a real scary time, especially right now, while we're still in this, weeks later, days and days after the election. It's very clear what the results are. And still, we have a man in the White House who's saying he will not concede, not to mention that we have heard from the media that if there is not a proper transition between a president-elect's administration and a current administration, that there's some national security issues there and international security issues. Can you talk about what's happening now? What should the people be doing?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we should not be shocked nor surprised because Donald Trump is being Donald Trump in this moment. His behavior has always been infantile. He has always been focused only on himself and how he can, essentially work the system into his benefit. And so we need to be focused right now. Yes, it is a challenging period for our nation because anything can go sideways at any point in time. We are living in a sideways moment. We're in the midst of a rampaging pandemic right now. And so that is the overall context in which we're trying to liberate ourselves.
So I want to, first of all, I want to say thank you for being here. And that statement was so real and what we needed to hear. And I also want to say we need to know the fountain of youth that you found, because I'm trying to go there. But
my brother, it's in the DNA.
It's in the DNA. That's right. That's right. Amen. But I want to ask two questions. I think for me, you heard me and Tamika having a conversation about the coronavirus and my skepticism. Not saying that I don't. I definitely believe. I actually have a friend who passed away from it. I have had people who have got really sick from it. And for me, I think what it is for a lot of us is the way that it's being portrayed in the media. I think when all we see is the amount of people who have it, we see death tolls, and we're not hearing about how we eat healthier, about the things that we need to do with our personal bodies to make sure that we don't assure. And all we hear is wear a mask or don't do these things. We understand that most people are not going to do that. Like, unfortunately, we live in a world that most people, unless they are directly affected by something, will not see the reality of it. And that's what I deal with every day. I was having conversations, like in the Bronx, just the regular hood in the Bronx, they don't feel like they're affected by it. It's nobody outside with masks. It's thousands of people in the park. They're going along with their day. They don't feel the things. They don't feel the effects of it. So I think, why aren't people saying, okay, we understand that our certain demographic are not paying attention to this. So why are we focusing on how do we tell them to eat healthier? Why we tell them focus on exercise? Why doesn't the news show that aspect of it? And then I want to ask you about Donald Trump. And we say that we understand he's Donald Trump. Does it bother you? Do you question that the fact that this election he actually got more votes? Does it? What do you think that is saying about America right now?
Okay, so let me start with the health piece because I think this is critical. You know, we can't speak to our people in a monolith. Different folk take in information differently. And until it hits home, for some folk, as my father would say, if you can't listen, then you must feel, right? Until some folk begin feeling this, unfortunately, you know, they're going to doubt the science. Let me say this unequivocally. Yes, we have to deal with the fact that our immune systems are compromised, particularly in communities of color, where we know we have been denied access to quality foods, to food deserts. We have been subjected to food deserts. Our eating habits have contributed tremendously to the pre-existing conditions we have, like diabetes, hypertension, asthma. We can go down the roll call of all of sort of those pre-existing conditions that are predominating the health of our people. COVID loves those individuals who have compromised immune system. At the end of the day, yeah, there will be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who will recover from COVID-19. Once we raise this cloud of suspicion that Donald Trump has fomented through his denial, and I believe his intentional allowing this to happen, we will see that having been exposed to this virus and recover from it is not the end of the virus for us, because many of our bodies are now dealing with the fact that we had this invasive virus in them, and we now become more susceptible to other illnesses as a result of the damage that the virus has done in our bodies. Our folks need to ask themselves, if they're questioning what's going on, right? What if I'm wrong in my assumption? What does it take for us to say, you know what, just in case, let me adhere to these public health protocols? Because if I'm right and I do this, I will be saving the lives of those around me and maybe my own life. I think that we got to step out of this space of being about me. And that's what the movement is about, right?
That's right. That's
and
right.
Say us and say us and we. And the only way that we get through this is if we put aside our cynicism, put aside our confusion, and stand united for those who don't believe in this experiment, if you will, and for those who do believe, saving lives and making sure that we are not in that number who are spreading infection and spreading death in many communities. On the issue of Donald Trump, you know, I understand the inclination to call this man's name in every conversation because he has wreaked such havoc in our lives. However, as I stated, his days are numbered. And yes, what he's doing right now is no different than what he's been doing from day one. He is, again, he's in his feelings. He's never cared about the American people. He's continuing to try to find ways to divide us and to keep hold of those 70 million people and keep them caught up in his cult of personality. You know, these are the folks who, you know, and again, I don't generalize, who one, as my colleague Hakeem Jeffries says, you know, everyone who follows Donald Trump may not be a racist, but we know that every racist follows Donald Trump.
That's right.
So there's that significant part of the population that see him as a utility for the maintenance of their philosophy of white supremacy. Then there are others who I will never forget during the 2016 campaign season. Donald Trump said something I found, first of all, it insulted me, but I understood what a master manipulator this man was when he stood up in front of the crowd and said, I love the poorly educated.
Wow.
You know, and when someone says something like that, he knows he can manipulate a certain
people,
segment of the population into hanging off his every word. So
Congresswoman, I don't want to cut you off, but I don't want to get in trouble with your staff for not letting you go at the time that we need you to get to. I know you have somewhere else that you need to be, and they were so gracious to give us time on your calendar today. So I don't want to get in trouble because we need to have you back.
Yes,
I just want to say that, you know, the accountability piece that you touched on earlier is going to be so important. How we continue to work together to ensure that this administration does the real work. We can't have a celebration line dancing on the lawn with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, who knows how to line dance better than anybody I know except my mama and your mother. And we don't want to have celebration for 4 years. We need to be serious about getting some work done. And I know you're going to do that because you always do. And so I'm looking forward to us working together hand in hand, making sure that the streets and the inside of Congress, that we're together in organizing and coordinating on behalf of our people and our rights.
Well, Sister Tamika Mallory, it is so important that we recognize the moment that we're in and the new way of life that we are establishing for this generation and generations to come. The movement that has been established is a multi-generational movement. Right. And that movement doesn't end with electoral politics. It doesn't end or begin with the fact that we were successful in saving our country and shifting the narrative. Now's when the work starts.
That's right.
This is when we continue to build the movement. This is when we continue on the demands that the activists in the streets have been, out there day in, day out, confronting the status quo and the power dynamics. That has to continue. That must continue. And I would say that another piece of this is the economic piece of this. And one of the things that I want to encourage your listeners to do right now is make sure they keep the pressure on around the Senate passing the HEROES Act. That they involve themselves in whatever way they can in supporting the people and helping to elect those senators in Georgia so that we can have the type of legislative construct that gives us the progress we need. We can't sit back now and line dance and say, okay, job done, and clap our hands and think that it's going to be okay. Right. This is when we need people to step up in this space, all of us to step up in this space and keep the pressure on and keep it going and build more reinforcements and get more young people engaged and make sure that the knowledge and understanding that the strategy and development tools that you and others have worked on all of your lives are passed on to the next generation. So again, we are not crossing these bridges over and over and over again, but the victory is certain because the knowledge, knowledge of our power is resident in each and every body.
And the fight is still on. In the words of Una Clark, your mama, keep the pressure on. Amen. So thank you for being with us. We love you so much. And we'll see you again real soon.
We appreciate
Congratulations once again, y'all. Thank you for your selflessness, your activism, and literally putting your bodies on the line for our people. I'm grateful. And I know the people of the 9th District are too.
Thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman. Take care.
If you proud, we know we doing something right. Thank you. So yes, man, that was a beautiful interview. It's always good to hear from someone like Congresswoman Clark, who is always on the front lines.
Yeah, she's always on our issues.
You know, she's always on our issues. She's someone that we can reach out to, and I'm making sure that she's a regular on our show.
Yeah, because she has a lot of insight. I mean, the Congresswoman has been in Congress. I'm not exactly sure how long, but it's been a long time. Ever since I have really been politically engaged, not just as an activist, but like really paying attention to politics. She's been in office, and she comes from a family, a long line of individuals who are real leaders. Her mother, Una Clark, is also a stalwart in the community and has brokered many political deals, helped people to get elected. She, the Congresswoman has had a few challengers over time, and every time they come up short because the people of the 9th District in Brooklyn, they trust her. They believe in her, and she's always, as you said, when we call her, I remember when we were outside at MDC at the Brooklyn Detention Center. They didn't have lights. They didn't have hot water. The inmates were calling out and banging on the walls trying to get food. It was actually like the coldest winter, or the coldest period of the winter, right? And it was like ice cold, and they had no heat inside the jail. And I remember when we called her, she showed up and brought a bunch of other congressional members with her. That's because they had the right to go in and inspect what was happening inside the jail, and she did that. And she always comes through for us, and so just glad to have her with us today.
Definitely, man. And that just shows the importance of our vote and voting down ballot, because we get people like Congresswoman Clark in office, people that we can call that can directly, impact immediately what we need done. So, people with this don't vote thing, I don't know where they get that from.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think a lot more people are beginning to understand the local election piece. And speaking of local elections, we're being joined by another guest who ran for a local seat in Louisiana recently. Even though he was not victorious in securing the seat, he still was able to transform politics in a large way in Baton Rouge, and also to bring attention from many younger people to the political process. And so the next time he runs, he's definitely going to win. We all have to get our feet wet, put your toes in the water, right, Gary Chambers? Right. You put your toes in the water, and now you are just a regular face, voice, and leader in Louisiana, in the entire state. I can't say just Baton Rouge, because people all over the state of Louisiana know you, and now all over the country because of so many of your other very viral moments when you've been speaking truth to power. So I'm happy to welcome my friend, Gary Chambers.
Yes, sir. How you doing today, Gary?
I'm good. Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for being here, man. Like she said, you started out in Baton Rouge, but you're becoming like a national favorite. I've posted a lot of your videos, man, and it motivates us. When you're doing this work and you see other people with that same passion, it feels good. So we want to thank you for being on our show, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Man, thank y'all. Every time that you guys help elevate the voices of people from these communities, it helps these stories, because the platforms, all of us are growing into these platforms, right? And it's always been a challenge to try to get the conversation to the next level. And so I just thank y'all for being willing to do that.
Yeah, and a part of Street Politicians, we want to make sure that at every single episode there is a local voice, someone from around this country that is dealing with an issue locally. And the one that we wanted to talk about today that many over this past weekend have been paying very close attention to is Kawan Bobby Charles, 15 years old, found near a field, I believe. He looked like he may have been burned in some way. I don't know all of the details, but I know that when I saw this 15-year-old boy in that body bag looking the way that he looked, my heart was broken, but I also can't unsee what I saw. So now I know something happened, and we have an obligation, such as with Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and every other case that we deal with, to find out what happened to Bobby and to give him the same attention. So I'm so glad that you are there on the case. Why don't you tell us the story of Kawan Bobby Charles and what we need to know?
So Kawan Bobby Charles went missing on October the 30th. What we know is he was picked up by a white woman and her son from near his home. He was taken about 25 miles away from home to a neighboring parish. We don't have counties in Louisiana, we have parishes. And so he was taken to a neighboring parish and he was never seen by his family alive again. He turned up in a sugarcane field on November the 3rd when Iberia Parish Sheriff's deputies finally went out to search for him. His mother called authorities on Friday, October the 30th, to let them know that her son was missing. They attempted to try to get an Amber Alert. No Amber Alert was sent at that time. And he goes through the weekend. We don't know what took place during that weekend. And those are the unanswered questions, right? We don't know specifically, did he die on October the 30th? Did he die on October the 31st? How long was he in this field? We don't have those answers today as a community, as a state, right? And more importantly, his family does not have those answers.
When just hearing it is disheartening. You know, I feel for the family. But do we know about an autopsy? Was there an autopsy done? And if so, what is the status of that?
So the autopsy done by the parish said that Kawan drowned. And that the injuries to his body were after his death. The independent autopsy is going to come out, I believe, today or tomorrow. The family has done an independent autopsy on his body. And so we're waiting for those results to come out from attorney Ron Haley.
Now, I heard that the water near the field, the water wasn't that high. It wasn't the kind of water that you would be completely submerged into if you fell in a pond.
We're talking about a sugarcane field and something that is equal to maybe a small ditch is what they're saying that he was found in or near.
And this ditch is near the family's house that he was.
Correct. Everything is within proximity to the family who initially picked this brother up on October the 30th. So, you know, he was not far from them where he was found. We know for a fact that he was with them when he left his family. We just don't know what happened between the time that these people took him away without the consent of his parents. That must be said. Without the consent of his mother or his father, took him away, and then the next time his parents see him, he is deceased.
The family is not supposed to leave town, right? That's what I think we heard. And so is the rule that they can't leave Louisiana? Because it seems to me that they've been moving around. I mean,
yeah, that's what we heard, that they've been moving around, that they've actually relocated.
They have. So they lived in a trailer in the area. They moved out of the trailer and they moved to an area somewhere else in the state. What I don't understand is if I break the law, you know, they're not going to give me the opportunity to be moving all around the state, right? They're not going to give me the opportunity transient after a potential murder, right? Or while a murder investigation is going on. And so, you know, we don't know to what degree the sheriff's department is taking this extremely serious. And without this national attention, we're not sure if we're going to get these kind of answers, because let's be honest, this is rural Louisiana. They get to fly under the radar without the microscope of public accountability. And so it's important that we continue to shine that light, because we don't know where these people are going to go or if they're going to move again. And hopefully authorities know where they are at this moment.
So for me, I mean, at least we know that he was kidnapped. This is abduction. If he was taken without the consent of his family by someone else, and they admit that's a charge legally anyway. So what is the sheriff's department saying? What are the police saying?
They're going to say he willingly went with this family because it seems like he was friends. He knew them and he was friends with one of the other kids, right?
The kid and he went to school with each other, is what I understand. And I got to say the name Jamal Taylor, Eugene Collins, they are the activists that have kind of been on the ground in the Baldwin area working this. And what they've come to understand is that they had a friendship. And so these were people that he knew. We just don't know what happened once he was gone. And so it's you can't tell me that you find a little black baby in the field like that. And if he was white, or if it was a different name, that we would not have these people detained until they get the answers.
That's right.
And it's exactly what you said, my son. If I am found to have taken someone else's child without their permission, you would detain me on that until you can prove what I did on the murder.
Or until they can prove that they didn't do something.
Right.
You know, there would have to be some level of evidence either way. A young boy lost his life. The last person he was seen with or known to be with is this adult person who picked him up in their car. Nobody knows anything after that, and there is no type of accountability. And this is really crazy to me.
Except another mother or another person who says she's a mother, who called Bobby's mother to tell her that there was bleach in the car after you know for sure that Bobby had been in the car, right? And she's saying the car had been bleached, that there was drugs. I mean, this lady seemed to be very confident in the recording that we heard that you posted. Yeah. And also I have to give a shout out to Warriors in the Garden in New York City, an organization that has been organizing here. I mean, people have been organizing around the country around Bobby's death, murder, however we are going to find out at some point that this thing happened to him. And so it seems like some people know what's going on. But the idea that time and time again, families are not given the respect of receiving the same information that officers often know, that law enforcement has been involved. They understand the details very well because everybody else is talking about it, except the law enforcement agency speaking to the family. The family knows nothing.
We have to make sure that we put a quotation on black families. It's not just
black
families. Black families are not given the courtesy and the respect and the legal obligation that comes with the law to be notified of exactly what's going on. The details.
So you were saying, and I know your time is short today, and again, we want to thank you for joining Street Politicians, but I know that you are also working on other cases, working with other families. It hurts me, it pains me that we can't just talk about Bobby and solve this problem by itself. We have other issues that's happening all over the nation, but you just told us that right there in Baton Rouge, there is another situation that you are now working on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Kobe Beauchamp. Kobe Beauchamp is a brother who, we don't know the exact day that he was shot and killed, but on November the 1st, there was a shootout in a white neighborhood. He was shot at. He runs from the scene. His family calls and tells authorities that, they can't find him. For 13 days, nobody searches for him. Eugene Collins, the president of the NAACP here, goes on social media after being reached out to by the family. And once they go public and say that they're going to do a search for this brother, the sheriff's department goes out and searches for him. And they find him. And he's been dead for 13 days. And so now we're trying to find out, why didn't you go investigate to find out where he was? Is it because he's black? Is it because you want to keep it under wraps that he was shot and killed in a white neighborhood? We don't know.
How old is he?
18.
Wow. Our young black men.
18. And what it is a total disregard for our humanity as people.
That's right.
For us as human beings, deceased, laying in fields, whether we're talking about Bobby Charles, where we don't know how long he laid in that field there, or whether we're talking about Kobe Beauchamp here in Baton Rouge, what we know is law enforcement is just taking a position that, it can wait. And so how long does evidence get tampered with?
Absolutely.
How much does it take for all of these things? And so it's just, if these were white people in this state that were dying like this, or that these incidents they said they were missing, they would go after them with the full power of the government, and we know it because we have seen it.
That's right. We know it to be true. Gary, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. We want to make sure that you know Street Politicians is available to you at any time that you need to come on to talk about the issues that's happening there in Louisiana. We really, really respect your grind and see what you're doing on the ground.
Definitely.
And soon and very soon, our organization, Until Freedom, will be on the ground with you in Louisiana to help uplift the local voices and the local work that's happening there around not just these two situations, but any other matter that you feel we should be paying attention to.
That's right. Continue to do the work, man. We appreciate you and respect you, man. And like she said, we'll be here for you. Whatever you need from us, we just a call away.
And let us know when we need to start raising money for your next election.
That's right. Let's start now.
Keep pushing, y'all.
All right. Thank you, Gary
Peace.
Chambers. You know, Gary, I'm being funny about raising money for him, but this guy really should be in elected office. Like, those are the type of people we're trying to send to everywhere. To
because
state
he
houses.
does the work when nobody's looking.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, he lives it.
The way I found him online, just reading. Like he walked into a building. He made the lady walk out.
I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm going to talk about you, Connie. Sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. And sit on there shopping while the pain and the hurt of the people of this community is on display, because you don't give a damn and you should resign. You should have resigned 2 years ago when you choked a white man in his house. You should have resigned 2 weeks ago when you got on TV and said foolishness. And you should walk out of here and resign and never come back, because you are the example of racism in this community. You are horrible.
Remember that? Yeah. She walked out. He was reading her so crazy.
That was in like some type of council meeting.
It was a council meeting. He just walked in and he broke her down so much that she just got up from the table and just left.
Yeah.
You know,
and the thing is, he's so deeply embedded in his community that he knows the names of these individuals who sit on these councils and other things that control aspects of the community. He knows them by name. So when he was speaking in this video to the young lady or to the woman, whoever she was, I don't remember, she felt bad because she knows Gary, because he's calling them by her first name.
Yeah, it was a different type, you know. So shout out again to Gary Chambers, man, and the work he's doing. And please support him. Yeah. Invest in his work.
Follow
man.
Gary Chambers.
Follow Gary. We've been grassroots and we've had nothing and had to figure out how we're going to do the work and survive, you know. And people, for some reason, they think that when you're activist or organizer that, you know, you're supposed to starve. Mm-hmm. We do not subscribe to that. We believe that when you're doing God's work and you really out here putting your life and this is you investing in the people and trying to make things better, that you should at least be able to support your family and be able to eat. Yeah. You know, so absolutely. Please look into supporting Gary Chambers. Yeah. And that brings me to our final segment of the show, which happens to be my segment.
Happens to be your segment.
It just happens to be my segment.
Yes, it is.
And it's called I Don't Get It. And as you know why it's called I Don't Get It?
I can't believe you really were like, no, I need a segment that's called I Don't Get It.
Because it's so much shit that I just don't get. Ooh, that's a bar. I so much shit that I just don't get. And today's episode, since we talk about the election, I really don't get how people still voted for Donald Trump. How more people, like, I think because when I looked at the numbers of people that voted for Donald Trump, I was really in dismay. You know, and when I went on my page and I was saying we had to get rid of Donald Trump, and the amount of people, which 90% of them probably bots and trolls, but there are 10% of those people that were actual people. Yeah. It was people that I actually knew that was trying to explain to me how it made sense for somebody to vote for Donald Trump. And either I'm on Mars, right? Or it's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You know, I just don't understand how people that come from our communities, that come from our walk of life, and understand what it is that we go through, and who have watched this man, who have heard and seen what he's promoting, what he's emboldened, who have watched how he's completely divided this nation, not just the United States. He's divided the nation in general, the world. Like, the world is split. When he lost, there were leaders from all over the world congratulating. They were saying, welcome back, America. You understand what I'm saying? So when I see that 70 million plus people voted for Donald Trump, yes. Which and increased in and it increased in so many different areas, it was just like, wow, we have so far to go, man. You know, and I really just don't get it. And I just want people to search their souls. You know, even the people that wanted to endorse Donald Trump, and then it was about, you know, taxes. tax breaks. There were grown people that I once respected that told me, well, I'm going to vote for Trump because I don't want nobody to take my money. And you mean to tell me that the money was worth you selling out the people? The money that you was get from some tax breaks or some PPE loan or whatever you got was worth. Stimulus checks was worth really jeopardizing the lives of our people. This man has empowered and emboldened straight racists, man. And they're setting up for like a race war. We see how this world is divided. And if you voted for that, I want you to it's not about me. I want you to ask yourself, what was on your mind? Ask yourself, what did you value? Did you think about the country? Did you think about those who don't have what you have? Did you think about the kids getting snatched at the border? Did you really think about those things, or did they even matter? So for me, it's a little more serious, man. So I really don't get that at all.
Well, I won't belabor the point because I think you said it properly. Children separated at the border. The racist, not undertones, they were overtones. Woo. The things that he said, the way in which he operated. I'm just glad to see him go. I'd love to get to a place where we don't even, as Congresswoman Clark said, where we don't even need to bring him up anymore, where the world has just changed. And I know there's a lot of work that we have to do, and I think Street Politicians is going to be an organizing space as well as a place to break down critical thoughts about a lot of issues, because I think everything happening in our community, whether it be how the chicken spot operates, to who owns the bodega, to obviously gun violence that's happening in our community, things that mama used to say, all of those things mean something to our culture, the way we operate. And so we don't have to just talk about politics. We can also talk about the politics of the streets, because the streets has its own politics. The other day I was having a conversation with my hairstylist, and we were talking about growing up in the projects and how the projects is super political, like super duper political, and all that you learn, everything from the way in which buildings operate, the top of the hill versus the bottom of the hill, who runs the little community rooms inside of each building, the community center, if you're lucky enough to have it, the benches, who's outside at what times of day, the drug industry that happens.
It's definitely an industry.
It's so many things going on in the projects. And the one thing that we sort of ended on, first of all, we said you had to be there. You wouldn't know if you weren't there. And I have a book called State of Emergency that's coming out really soon. And, the book delves into that because it's difficult to understand our struggle if you don't understand the places that we've been confined and where we learned everything that we know, the politics of how we operate, because that controls the way that we operate in a larger political system.
That's right.
So it's so much to be talked about on Street Politicians, and I'm glad to be doing it with you, my brother.
Yes.
And let's make history.
We want to say thank you for tuning into our first episode. We hope you enjoyed it. There'll be many, many more to come. We're going to have amazing guests, amazing topics. We're going to be the voice of the culture. We're going to be your voice. We want you to give us your ideas. We want to take your critiques. We want to tell you this shit is whack, it's dope, whatever. We want to hear it. You know, because the reality of the situation is we're nothing without you. So I'm not going to always be right. Tamika's not going to always be wrong. She'll be wrong most of the time. But we will both always be authentic.
Yeah. Peace.
That's how we own it.